G'day gang, how you doing? This is Tommy Kendi. You are listening to episode number 107 at the BS Machine, and I'd just like to welcome you all to this episode that we're going to be walking through. If you are a woman, you need to be listening to this episode. If you are a man, you especially need to be listening to this episode. And this episode is all around why dudes don't get into yoga, into meditation, into breathwork techniques, into all aspects of mindfulness. And the reason, I'm going to get straight into it, and the reason that I wanted to share this podcast with you, and by the way, hopefully, if you're a dude, you know what, with my listeners, most of them, I actually had a look the other day, it's like 60 to 65% women, and my listeners are about 35 to sort of 40% men. So that's a pretty cool balance. I like that balance, which is cool. But if immediately I'll just put it straight out there. If you are a dudette, then please share this podcast. Maybe have a listen to it through first, but share this podcast with your partner, your brother, your dad, whoever you think needs it, because there's some really important information that I'm sharing in this podcast all around pretty much mental health and physical health and wellness for men, because it's so important. And if I haven't met you before, or if you haven't listened to a podcast, one of my podcasts before, one of the episodes of the BS Machine before, one of the things that I do in my daily life is I go out there and I either teach yoga, I teach mindfulness, I go into corporates and I teach meditation and talk about behaviors and consciousness and awareness and all that type of stuff. And what I've really been noticing, especially over the last 6 to 12 months, which is quite exciting, is a lot of men are actually wanting to explore this world. They want to get into it because they're seeing that the men that are sort of living in this world and doing this stuff, there's an element of, they've sort of got their shit together, and the thing is, when you dive into this world of yoga, meditation, breathwork, mindfulness, and all the things around it, it doesn't make you a better person. Basically, all it does is it gives you these tools, these fucking epic tools to navigate through the storm, to navigate through all the physical stuff, the mental stuff, and all the other things that surround us. And look, especially as men, this is what's exciting, is that a lot of men are asking the right questions. They're like, oh, so what's this whole yoga thing about? And the reason what I see, because I do work with a lot of men through coaching or through yoga or even in corporates, and one of the key things that I've seen why men don't get into this stuff is because they're either blocking themselves through their language. It was funny, I was actually talking to a mate, it was sort of like a mate the other day, and I said to him, so mate, I reckon get into yoga, mate. Like you're giving me all the buying signals, not for me to sell you anything, but you give me all the buying signals that yoga is going to be great for you. And he's like, nah, I just don't like yoga. And I looked at him, I'm like, how the fuck do you know that? Like, you've never, ever given it a good go. Have you ever been on a yoga mat? He's like, no, I have never done a yoga class. So how the fuck do you know that you don't like yoga? And I'm just like, wow, that's like, like, how can you say you don't like something when you've never even tried it? So a lot of men, a lot of dudes, they've got this initial blockage because they don't even allow themselves to step onto a mat or to even try meditation or to try breath work. And so it was funny with this guy. I said, all right, have you got 5 or 10 minutes? And he's like, yeah, of course. I mean, we're just hanging out. So okay, cool. I'll go, come here. And he's like, okay. And so we went and sat on my couch, and we're just sitting on the couch. I said, okay, put your back to the back of the couch, and he puts his back down. I said, close your eyes down. He didn't fucking close his eyes down. I go, dude, close your fucking eyes. Like, how hard is it? Just close your eyes. And I took him through this 5-minute, really quick breathing technique, and you could see this guy changed just within 5 minutes. His whole way he was changed, the way his eyes looked, like his eyes were super clear, and he actually looked at me and goes, man, it feels like my body is alive. I go, no shit. And I go, this is all part of yoga, breathing, mindfulness, whatever. Anyway, and then off he went, and I haven't spoken to him since, because that was, 4 or 5 days ago. But I bet you that this guy is way more open to getting into and looking into this world way more so than ever. So that's usually the first thing. When you've got this initial blockage, when you're just it's pretty much just dumb, I reckon, when you're like, no, I don't like yoga. Okay, well, give it a fucking go and then tell me you don't like it. The other thing is that the other main sort of objection that men have to yoga is that I just don't have time. Other things could be like, I'm just not flexible enough. And I think all these things are, on a surface level, they're sort of warranted, because I genuinely believe that they don't believe that they're flexible enough. They don't believe they have the time and all this type of stuff. But underneath the surface, really, it's just a bullshit excuse. We're just being honest here. That's what we do at the BS machine. It's fucking bullshit. Like, come on, And I'm not saying this from a place of anger. I'm saying this from a place of pure excitement, because I am noticing more dudes take on this opportunity, this idea to dive into this world and see what's on the other side of it. And so when you have all these men that are asking better questions, that is a really, really good opportunity for people like me to, give these guys tools to dive into this type of world, and give these guys tools to really get into it. And the other thing which you'll find which I actually found quite interesting, is that even with the women that I speak to and the women that I work with who are into yoga, or they are, and that's the funny thing, isn't it? It's like it is the world of yoga and mindfulness, and not littered is not the right word. This world is 90 to probably 95% women, and that is awesome. Like, I just think maybe it comes easier to them, or the whole feminine nature is all about caring and nurturing and whatnot. So I think women naturally gravitate towards this type of science that is yoga and breathwork and meditation, because it sort of makes sense for them. But what I've found interesting is speaking to my women clients or women that I come across and speak to, either in a professional sense or even in just a hanging out sense, is that, I wish my husband, or I wish my boyfriend or my brother, I wish they would try this. I wish they would know what you know, Tommy, and I wish there was more people like you around to teach them. And I'm not big noting myself, but what I can tell you is that even from a female perspective, they look at their partners and they can see, they're like, man, this would be so good for you. Like, I see you being anxious, I see you being confused and not having clarity, and your body's hurting, and all this stuff. Like, you need to dive into this world of whatever. It doesn't even yoga doesn't mean that you have to get onto a mat and do fucking handstands. Yoga is a process. You start either with meditation, you start with breath work, then you get on the mat, whatever it is. It's like, there's so many great epic things that yoga brings, and it's all there for us as dudes. And I can tell you from my own experience, when I started this practice, I've met dudes that are like, I'm so inflexible, and I look at them, I'm like, mate, I was nowhere near the flexibility that you are right now when I started. And funny enough, and those of you that are listening that do have a regular yoga practice, funny enough for me, the best and most exciting and the coolest part of my whole entire journey through this this space of mindfulness was the first 6 to 12 months. So many aha moments, so many things I learned about my body. The first time I actually fell into a heap on a yoga mat, I just saw the little hairs on my shin. I think I've mentioned this before in a previous episode, where I was folding forward and I saw the little hairs on my shins, and it just freaked me out. I'm like, wow, man, look at those little hairs and on my shin, and I'm looking at it and like, I've never even seen my shin. Like, how cool is that? And I saw the bone and the shin bone and the calves, and I was just like absolutely fascinated. And there's so many beautiful moments. Obviously, that was a really personal experience for me. But everyone has their own different personal experiences as we move through this practice of meditation. And then later down the track, I went into the whole breathwork thing. And now I'm like, with breathwork, this is the coolest part. With breathwork, you can feel like absolute shit. And within not even a minute, you could do a breathing technique for a minute and you will feel fucking unbelievable. You're just learning how to use your breath. 1 fucking minute. Those moments where you're just like, man, this is the worst fucking day ever. I'm having a shit time. It's just not happening for me. Everything's going to shit. You could spend a minute and feel fucking unbelievable in 1 minute. In 1 minute. That is crazy. It's like miracle shit. It's like miracle stuff. And so it's sort of, it's this two-pronged thing at the moment where, for me personally, I look out into the world and I see dudes, I see men, and I'm like, man, the fuck are you doing? Like, you've got all these tools literally sitting there waiting for you to dive into and to get into, and you refuse to do it. Why? Like, how can you refuse to do something before you even give it a shot? It's blatant disrespect for your own self-worth, for your own happiness, for your own joy. And I'm not saying that yoga is the only thing that you need to be happy, because it's not. But yoga and everything else around it is an incredible set of tools that we can learn in a really quick and efficient way that's going to become our best mate that we can use to ride through the storms of life. That's what yoga is, and it helps us. Ultimately, the foundation of yoga, it all comes back to learning how to manage the fluctuations of the mind, which is basically what that means is we're using yoga and meditation and mindfulness and breathing and whatever else to manage and to learn how to let the mind become our ally instead of just this thing that just bounces around from thought to thought all day long, and before we know it, we're fucking dead. I mean, that's a reality of it. If we don't learn how to manage our thoughts, manage our emotions, manage our life in general, you're pretty much going to get to the end of your life and you'll be there going, did I even do anything? What did I do? Maybe I popped out a couple of kids, had a job, I was anxious for 20 years or however long, felt like shit for the last 20 years of my life, and then here I am. It's like, okay, well, what the fuck was that? So yoga it's this epic opportunity for men, for dudes, to step it up and to really bring this in as a really great tool for you to use as it's a tool. It's like fucking life hacks. And so there's the dudes, the men that are asking the questions. Hopefully you are listening to this podcast, you are listening to this episode. And if you're asking the questions, and even if you're not asking the questions, even if you're just wanting to explore a little bit into this world, or you know what, even if you're not looking to explore this world, fucking explore it. Have a look into it. It is one of those things that if you give it a good proper go, and I'm talking 6 to 12 weeks, if you give this a good hard slog for 6 to 12 weeks, I guarantee, I'm telling you from experience, that the first time you get on the yoga mat, you're going to fucking hate it. I'm just being fully honest. You're absolutely going to hate it. Your joints are going to hurt, your knees, the this, that. You're going to feel like you're totally stiff. You're not going to be able to move. Your shoulders will hurt, blah, 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 blah. But after the first time you do that, it eases up each time. So if you can commit to going, you know what, for the next 2 months minimum, I'm going to give this a go at least, once a day. I'm either going to do a meditation, or the other day I'm going to do a breathing technique that you can learn. Other day I'm going to do a yoga class. Then I'll do a chilled yoga class. I'll do a meditation. There's basically 4 or 5 tools that you have available to you really easily that will allow you the first 2 months of your practice to dive in. And it doesn't matter what sort of yoga class you do, it's all going to fucking hurt the first or second time. Even if you've done it ages ago and you're like, oh mate, I'm not doing that again, that was crazy. No, like you probably did it once and that's why. So give it a good shot, give it at least 2 months. And I reckon those guys and even women that are still here listening to me, which I'm sure the most of you would be, is that if you're still here, there's a part of you that's going, man, Tommy's got something here. Like he's actually, hit the nail on the head, and he's actually telling me the words that I've been sort of playing around in my mind for maybe it's been a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, 2 years. And this is your opportunity. And you know what? It doesn't matter how old you are. I'm telling you, I didn't start practicing yoga till I was like 30, maybe 33, 34. And maybe 32, something like that, 32, 34. I didn't start practicing yoga, but I meet guys now that are starting in their mid-40s, even in their mid-50s, and they are, every time I set them a set of tasks, a set of tools, I give them all the opportunity to and I just go, look, you're just going to fucking dive in 2 months. That's what I'm going to give you. I'll keep you accountable, blah, 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 blah. And mate, you should see these guys after 2 months. They're literally walking around, their eyes are clear, their body's energized. Even, man, you like this, even your sexual energy, ladies, if you're still listening, get your dude into yoga. Even if your sexual energy is gonna absolutely ramp it up, your dick gets harder, you feel more confident in the bedroom, you slow things down, you're not just fucking hammering tongs, you become more confident with your breath. Once you are not confident with the breath, but once you become aware of your breath, I'm not going to talk too much about sex and whatever else, but in the bedroom, you actually slow things down and you realize things. And, as you're bloody rooting, you're feeling your dick in a vagina. You're just not sitting there going bang, 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 bang. All right, come, I'm fucking done. Thanks, babe. I'll see you next week. It's more about just slowing things down. Understand you've got breath. Understanding that you can actually control the muscles in your body. There's all these muscles around the perineum, which the blokes call your ain't your balls, ain't your ass. Or there's all these muscles around there that you can contract and let go and feel into. And man, when you start learning that shit through yoga, that's when the cool stuff really starts to begin. But don't worry about that now. That could come later. I'm still playing around with that sort of shit. But anyway, so this is where I wanted to get to. So with, there's two things that we've talked about. One is that women are noticing that their partners, their brothers, their dads and whatever are needing to do this shit. And you know what? If you resonated with this and you're a female and you haven't tried yoga, same shit goes for you. The only reason I'm talking about men in this episode is because men fucking need it, and also because men are asking the right questions at the moment. So it's really important that they have the tool, the skill set to be able to go and actually try this shit. And then the next part is, most dudes will go, all right, I'll give it a shot, but I'm not going to a yoga class because it's going to be filled with, hot chicks in fucking leotards, and I'm just going to be sitting there looking like an absolute hack. I can tell you now that is bullshit, because whether you're a guy, whether you're a girl, whatever, when you practice in a yoga studio, the last thing on your mind is what anyone else is doing. Like, there might be a few moments where you look around on someone else's mat and they're like, fuck, they're doing all right. Like, holy shit, they're super stretchy. But in all honesty, no one gives a shit in a yoga class how you move, what you do on the yoga mat. That's the type of practice. It's a very intrinsic practice. It's all very internal. It's your practice. It's your breath. And you know what? Most of the time, people have got their bloody eyes closed. So they tell you now, no one's going to give a shit how you move on your mat. And the yoga teachers, if you go to a good yoga teacher, they will be there helping you through. But this is what I wanted to talk to you about, is that is I've got a and this is, don't take this as a sales thing, because it's not, and you might be thinking, oh yeah, Tommy's just trying to get a sale. I'm fucking not. Like, in all honesty, the only reason I developed this program is to help these men, to give men the opportunity to do this whole 6-week dive in and get in there. So if you go to yogafordudes.com.au, you will see a 6-week course. And this 6-week course, it has yoga, weekly yoga, it has meditations, it has unbelievable breathwork sessions. It has all sorts of audio. You're prompted into creating a timetable, so you're like rocking it in, and it's even got wisdom in there. I've even put at least one. There's one video a week in there where it gives you life hacks pretty much. And there's so much cool content in this whole. It's a 6-week program, so you do week 1, then week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6. And if you follow all the things that I've put into this program, you will have such an incredible experience. You will absolutely fucking love it. At the end of 6 weeks, I would be so surprised if you didn't email me or even call me and just go, Tommy, I'm so fucking happy. Every single dude that's done this 6-week program with me has just come back and gone, mate, you've absolutely nailed it. So go to yogafordudes.com.au. That is where the 6-week, it's an online program. Obviously, I'll be here for you. If you need to, if you've got any questions or whatever, just email me. My email's on that program, and but it's basically a guided program, 6 weeks, and it is for dudes that want to get into yoga. It is so fucking powerful. And the reason I want to do this podcast, because one, I'm proud of myself for finally putting something out there. I wish that I had something like Yoga for Dudes when I was starting to practice yoga and meditation. And I promise you, I'll put everything in there. There's yoga, there's meditations, there's audio things, there's breath work. Oh my God, the breath work. Fuck, I'm going to go do breath work now after I finish this. But get onto it, guys. www.yogafordudes.com.au. And if you are a female and you're listening to this, please share this podcast. Please share Yoga for Dudes with your brothers, with whatever. Actually, fucking buy it for them. Do you know the last time I released this, the first version of it, I released it about 2-3 years ago, which it did really well, but it didn't have the impact as what it will now, because now men actually are ready to see this shit and get involved in it. But the funny thing was is that back then it was actually mainly the women, the women that bought it for their partners or for their brothers or whatever, and they just like went home and like, right, David, you're doing this. Frank, you're doing this. I don't give a fuck. You're fucking doing it. Get out of your bullshit. So anyway, but I think this time it's mainly going to be actually dudes that get on there and click on it and buy it. The price is so fucking fair. Like what I'll put it up there for, most people actually look at me and go, dude, this is worth way more than that. And I'm like, well, do you know what? I just need a no-brainer price. It's just a no-brainer price for dudes. And it's basically simply there. I need guys to look at this and go, yep, it's a no-brainer. I'm just fucking getting it and I'm getting started. So anyway, the whole intention behind this podcast was, even if I just get one fucking dude to get into this whole epic experience and he commits for, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever, 3 months, promise you after that it gets so much easier. So well done, guys, we're done. This is the podcast where I don't even know what I said, but I'm pretty sure that I said some pretty cool stuff, and hopefully this will inspire many, many, many dudes to get on the mat and start breathing properly, start exercising, start energizing their body and really giving back to themselves. Thank you guys for listening. Please share, as I said before, this podcast with as many dudes as you possibly can, even women that might think that their men might benefit out of this. But thank you for listening in, and it's always such an honor to share this life with you guys and just have a cool experience. So thank you for listening. I'm Tommy. This is the BS Machine, and if you feel like you want to review the podcast on Apple Podcast or Spotify or anything like that, by all means feel free to do so. Otherwise, fucking love your guts, and I'll see you, hear you, and feel ya next week. See you guys.